Yes, and dear students, so today we are discussing the mechanism of hydraulic lift. Okay, we apply little force on this end of the hydraulic lift, and the load, which is of so many quintals, it can be a truck or anything, this is lifted up. To understand the mechanism of hydraulic lift, we have to understand Pascal law. And to understand Pascal law, you have to understand two things. Number one, hydrostatic paradox, and number two, variation of pressure with the depth h. How the pressure changes with depth h, or you can say that pressure depends upon what? Pressure depends upon what? What parameters pressure depend upon? Okay? And I don't think I have to explain you what is pressure. Pressure is thrust divided by area. You see, students, I'm not writing force by area. I'm not writing force by area. If this is a, plane, you know, this is a plane, or you can say this is an area. On this area, if the forces are inclined, if these forces are inclined at an angle theta, so remember, only the perpendicular component of these forces, right? We know that any vector, any force can easily be resolved into two components. This is one component of this force, and this is second component of this force. And students, I'm telling you a trick. Suppose this force is F, right? And let's say this angle is theta. So anyone can tell me what will be this component? Students, what will be this component? Remember the component which is touching this angle theta, component which is touching this angle theta along the theta, that is always cos theta. This will be F cos theta, and the component which is opposite to theta, the component which is opposite to theta is always sine theta, F sine theta. Always remember this. Let's say this is some 5 Newton force, and let's say this angle is 10 degree, let's say. So this component will be 5 cos 10. One component up, other component will always be upwards. So this will be 5 sine 10. Always remember, sine component will always be opposite to the angle. And yesterday I had explained you the triangle law of vector addition. You see now, this is a vector and this is a vector. So these two vectors are in the same order. So the resultant vector 5 Newton will be in the opposite order. So we have taken this in the opposite order. So the triangle law of vector addition is also getting implemented here. At the same time, we know that any vector can be resolved into two components along two perpendicular axes. This is very important. All right. So once we know all this, now this force, these are the forces which are being applied on the plane at an angle theta. All are, let's say, at an angle theta. Now its perpendicular component is responsible for the application of pressure, this perpendicular component, right? So let's say the total force, the resultant of all these forces is F, right? So F sine theta, remember students, F sine theta will be the thrust, where, whereas F is the force. If I had written force by area, then the pressure would have been F by A. Let's say this area is A, that would have been wrong. Pressure is always thrust by area, and that thrust must be perpendicular to the surface. It's very, very important. This is one thing. And the second thing you also need to understand this, is whenever a solid is dipped in some fluid, Very, very important thing. Whenever a solid is dipped in the fluid, Ishma, at which angle the fluid will exert forces on this inclined plane?
Normal to this.
Normal to this. Perfectly right. See, students, the plane or some body, let's say this is some body, right? It may be some body like this. It may be some body like this. There's some plate, maybe some plate like this, right? So remember, students, always the fluid will always exert force perpendicular to this. Very, very important characteristics of the fluid. Upward also, the fluid will exert forces on this from upward direction also, and fluid will exert forces from downward direction also. Another case, let's say the plane is like this. Let's say it's like this. This is the plane. Then the forces exerted by the fluid on this would be again perpendicular to the surface. This is another thing we have to understand. You see, student, this is very, very important because actually, whenever this is a fluid and in a fluid there is a particle, any particle of the fluid is there, actually it is applying the force in all the directions. This is also according to the Pascal law, which we understand till 10th standard. We take the example of that balloon, that in case a balloon is filled with water, and let's say on the same level, if you have so many holes on the balloon, the will water will flow at the same distance, from the balloon. This is the understanding of Pascal law till 10th standard. But now we have to go little beyond that understanding. So this is one thing. And then I'll tell you what is hydrostatic paradox. So, all right. So hydrostatic paradox is, let's say you have this container, a big container. Okay. In this container, you have three types of, uh, you know, you have three types of areas. Let's say this is one area. So the water is flowing and it will rise to some height in this. The second is maybe this kind of area, and the third can be this kind of this. Okay, so these are the areas in the water. So you will be very surprised to know, students, that the water will rise to the same height. Water will rise to the same height in this. You see, uh, this is all water or any fluid, not only water, any fluid. No, I'm especially talking about liquids. So the height to which the liquid will rise. See, one thing is there, that the mass of water is different. Here, this much is the mass of water. Here, this much is the mass of water. Here, the mass of water is rather smaller. But the height to which the water will rise in all this will be same. This is hydrostatic paradox. Okay, one. Number two, how the pressure varies with the depth. Means, imagine I'm having a container. In this container, there is water. All right, this all is water. Okay, so let's say I want to measure the pressure of the water at this point, at this point, at this point, and at the bottom of the container. So, students, I only have to calculate what is the H, that is from the free surface. This is free surface of the water. From the free surface, how much is the depth of water till this? If you want to calculate pressure here, you again have to find out the depth H1. Here, you again have to find out the depth. Once you know the depth, you simply multiply that depth with the density of the uh, liquid. In case this is mercury, then you will write the density of mercury. In case this is water, then you will write the density of water, that is 1000 kilogram per meter cube into G. So how this formula came is also interesting thing, but that we have already done. P pressure is equal to rho G H. This is very interesting formula, and this formula also tells you the variation of pressure with depth. As this depth is increasing, the pressure is also increasing. Students, very interesting. All across the fluid, the density is constant, and G, acceleration due to gravity, is also constant. So what is changing? It is only H which is changing. So my second question, that P depends upon what all factors? None. Pressure does not depend upon anything else, because rho is constant. What is rho? Students, you understand what is rho? You must ask questions in case you don't understand anything. This is density of the liquid in which we are measuring the pressure. And this is acceleration due to gravity. Pressure is only proportional to H. Very interesting things. Okay. So even if, imagine if you have a container and you have a plane here. If you want to measure the pressure on the below this, you don't have to consider anything, inclination, anything. You simply take down this point. This is the free surface of water. Measure the depth and simply write P is equal to rho density of this liquid. G into H will be the pressure of this liquid. Fine. Once you understand this hydrostatic paradox and variation of pressure with depth, you can easily understand Pascal law. So what is Pascal law, students? Pascal law, and once you understand Pascal law, very simple would be for you to understand how this how this hydraulic lift is operating. Okay, so Pascal law says this is the container. In this container, this is a free surface of a liquid. Now we have just understood that pressure only varies with depth h from the free surface. It does not depend upon anything else. Okay, and we also know that the water or any liquid has the tendency to maintain same level, that is hydrostatic paradox. Based upon this, students, we can easily understand one thing. What? That this is a liquid. Let's say we take one surface of the liquid. Okay, this is one surface. This is a surface, this is a free surface. We just go below the liquid at a height h. You see all the particles, these might small dots are representing the particles of the fluids. All these particles of the fluid which are at the same depth from the free surface of the liquid will have same pressure, that we have already understood, and now we are simply stating it. So what is Pascal law? Pascal law states from the free surface of a liquid, all or not only liquid, even in gases also it is valid, from the free surface of the from the fluid, all the particles which are at the same depth experience same pressure, or otherwise. So this is Pascal law. Based upon Pascal law, we can understand. Now you see, students, uh, this is the liquid, the area of cross section. This is the area of cross section on this end of the hydraulic lift is small. Let's say that is A. The area of cross section on this end of the lift is more. Let's say that is big A. Normally, students, the ratio big A divided by small a is of the order of 1000 or 100. Let's say this is 100, this ratio. What is this ratio? Big area on the other end, second end of hydraulic lift, where you will be placing the load, some tractor, some trolley, whatever it is. So on this side, the area is very small. This is the side on which you will be applying the force. When you apply F force, the this other end also experience force. Now, how much force it experience easily comes from the understanding of Pascal law. How? See, at both this level and this level, students, we have just understood this is same level. Hydrostatic paradox is telling us all the particles of the fluid which are at this level. Okay, let me draw with blue color. This, one second, let me take red color. See, these particles, one, two, three, four, infinite particles here, and one, two, three, four, five, infinite particles here. They are at the same level. See, this is the level. One second. This is the level of all these particles. See, these particles shown with the blue line, they are at the same level. So according to Pascal law, they will experience same pressure. All right. That means the pressure at this pressure, and let's say this is first end of the hydraulic lift, and this is second end of the hydraulic lift. So the pressure here would be P1 and pressure here will be P2, but the pressure experienced by all the points, because they are on the same level, will be same. So I can say P1 would be equal to P2. But students, you see that P1 pressure, just now we have understood, is equal to thrust by area. What is thrust? Thrust is the perpendicular force acting on an area, right? Okay. Or you can take otherwise also. P is equal to force by perpendicular area. You can take like that also. P is equal to force divided by perpendicular area. Well, both are same. Both will come out to be same. Okay. So what is P1? P1 is a small force F acting on the area A, small area, is equal to, now this is force, I don't know whether this force is bigger or smaller, we'll just see. So this force is big F divided by big area. This area is very big, 100 times more than small area, 200 times, 50 times, 1000 times more than this area. Okay. So from this we will get, students, you see, we will do cross multiplying. So we will get A big area divided by small a would be equal to big force divided by small force. It was very interesting application of Pascal law we got. That means the ratio of the force experienced by the load. This is the F is the force experienced by a load. And this is the small force which we have applied. This is a small force which we have applied. The ratio is equal to ratio of the areas. And as we have already stated, A by A is equal to 100. So this big force experienced by the load would be 100 times the small force. You see, students, it's such a great thing. We have done nothing. We have simply applied small force with the help of a motor. We have tried to push this thing down. This is not fixed. See, this is sliding thing. It can go up, it can go down. This is also sliding thing. Nah? These are sliding mechanisms. This can go up, you know. So what is the application of this? When it goes up, the load is there, so it applies the upward force. When it applies the upward force, it is able to measure the mass or weight of the load. This is the advantage of hydraulic lift. It's used for measuring the weight or the load, carried by tractor, trolley, whatever it is. How do they do it? uh, they know the, let's say they want to find the load on the truck, so they know the mass of the truck, and then they will weigh the mass with the load. So they will subtract the mass of the truck and they will know what how much load is there. So this force is 100 times F. Based upon this, students, we have 8 more minutes. We can do a small numerical also. So it says two pistons of hydraulic press have diameter of 30 centimeter. One piston is 30 centimeter and the other is 2.5 centimeter. So you can well understand that this is our 2.5 centimeter and this is 30 centimeter diameter. This is 2.5 centimeter and 30 is this 30 centimeter diameter. Okay. Find the force exerted on the longer piston when 50 kilogram weight is placed on smaller piston. Okay, on this piston, I have placed a weight of 50 kilogram weight. Students, you must know kilogram weight is a gravitational unit of force. Newton or dyne are the absolute newtons of force, and you should know how to convert one unit into other newton. Yes, any student knows if I have 1 kilogram force or 1 kilogram weight, it will be equal to how many newtons?
Point 8 Newton.
How much? How much, Ishma? 1 kilogram weight or 1 kilogram force is equal to how many newtons? I want to hear. Come on, students. 1 kilogram weight is equal to 9.81 newtons. Very, very important. Okay, this is how you can convert. If you need to convert, if you don't need to convert, no problem. Okay, fine. So 50 kilogram weight force we have placed on this. So force will be acting downwards. So on the same level on the piston with 30 centimeter diameter, force will be acting upwards. Okay. So how we will calculate? So you see that, students, piston is obviously like this. The piston is having circular area. This is your piston, right? This is your piston with circular areas. This piston goes up and down. So we want to calculate uh, if the stroke of the small piston is 4 centimeter. What stroke means, I'll tell you, students. Stroke means the distance the piston moves. The distance the piston moves, that is 4 centimeter. The distance by which the piston moves is 4 centimeter. Find the distance through which the longer piston would move after 10 strokes. Okay. So we have given 10 strokes here. So how much distance the bigger piston will move? This is what we want to calculate. So students, easily you can calculate area A1, but that will be equal to, you can say pi into 2.5 is the diameter, pi r square. Okay, simply you can calculate A2, let's say this is A1 and this is A2. So A2 would be again pi r square. It will be, so 30 by 2 will be 15, right? Centimeter square. So you will have A1 and A2 and F1. This F1 force, right? F1 force is 50 kilogram weight. Am I right? All right. So easily you can calculate F2. So what is the formula? See the formula. See, F by F, or you can say F2 by F1 is equal to A by A. So this is A2 by A1. Am I right? So you can use this. So F2 would be the ratio of bigger area and smaller area. So bigger area is how much? That is pi into 15 centimeter square divided by pi into, you see, sometimes you don't have to multiply by pi because it is getting cancelled here, right? So it will be 2.5 divided by 2 square into what? F1 into F1, right? F2 by F1. So this will be F1. So F1 will be how much? 50 kilogram weight. So very easily from here you can calculate F2. So if you just calculate F2, it will come out to be 7200 kilogram weight. See the beauty of physics, students. We have applied only 50 kilogram weight force here. And how much force we are getting here? Yes, we are getting this much force, 7,200 kilogram weight force. So you see, we need not convert. He has given in kilogram weight. We can give the answer also in kilogram weight. So that will be easy. Okay. Now we will talk about that strokes and all he has talked about. I'm sorry. So we'll talk about that also. Okay, just a second. Fine. So you see that, students. Now we talk about one stroke. One stroke. What is one stroke? Well, this is a piston and this is the cylinder. The piston moves this distance. So this is one stroke of the piston. So it moves multiple times, up and down. So there are multiple strokes. Okay. So you see that in in one stroke, the input work done would be equal to output work done, right? Let us imagine that when a piston is moving, there are friction here, and let's say that friction is zero. Imagine that it is perfectly frictionless piston. It's perfectly lubricated. So you know that input work done is equal to output work done. So we can easily find out. So students, what is work done? What will be work done on this piston? Any student can tell me how much is the force being applied? 50 kilogram weight. This,
Wait.
yeah, any student can tell me this is a force and the piston has moved by a distance of 4 centimeter. So can anyone tell me what will be input work done on piston A1? Work done.
Force into displacement.
Yeah, that's great. Beautiful, Ishma. Work done is equal to force into displacement. All right. That's great. Don't think that whether this is vector product or dot product. That I'll explain to you later. And I simply, this is multiplication sign. So how much is the force? 50 kilogram weight into 4 centimeter. I can take 4 centimeter. I should not, but no problem because I know centimeter will cancel with centimeter. So it doesn't matter. Okay. So this would be equal to, now how much is that force? The other four students, 7,000. कितने गई force हो? Ishma, what was the force here we had calculated? How much force upward acting?
7,200.
Oh, that's good. 7,200 into, we don't know the distance, okay? But don't worry, we'll make it x. So from here, students, I will get x. That is